Hi there, folks. I'm the Reverend Danny Crosby, a Unitarian minister serving congregations in Altrincham and in Urmston in the northwest of England. And I'm offering this devotion as a balm for the heart, for the mind, for the spirit, and for the soul. It is titled Spirit Level, Increasing Our Sensitivity to Life. Last Sunday, the God of humour was certainly at play, or God's humour was at play. I tempted fate by talking about the church where everything goes wrong. And plenty did. Of course it did. There were many amusing moments which always helped during challenging times, and both congregations have faced, as we've all faced in recent times. There was a particularly amusing moment during the Altrincham sermons when a member, Edna, began to comment on the candle being a bit wonky, not being straight. It wasn't placed straight, apparently, enough. And for the next minute or so, there were several attempts to get it perfectly level just to please her. I even joked about the need to get a spirit level to check it was just right, just perfect. Then someone piped up that this would be a great subject for a service. Well, surprise, surprise, it got my homiletic consciousness going. The interactions filled my spirit. They awakened something within me. My homiletic consciousness was off. And this is what it came up with, really, I guess. The next Tuesday morning, I noticed a friend obsessively trying to get the right balanced arrangement of tea light candles to aid our morning meditation that day. And what amazed me was that at this time of year, we begin in daylight anyway, so really the candles make not one blind bit of difference at all. But hey, we must have the right number of candles, mustn't we? In the correct shape and the correct order, right in the middle of the circle that we all sit in each time we meet. Of course we do, otherwise things aren't going to work, are they? And another thing we obsess about at this meditation group that now meets 3 times a week, by the way, is getting the right number of chairs for the right number of people. Whenever I arrive, I always comment that I always say there aren't going to be enough, And there rarely is enough, actually. People set them out, but never enough, it seems, the people that set them out anyway. So when later comers arrive, they initially have to sit outside the circle, and I never like that. But this Tuesday, I didn't comment at all because there seemed to be plenty set out. A different person had done so. Well, at least there was plenty set out initially, that was. Now, as this was happening, my friend was arranging the candles right in the middle of the circle. Then the person who set up the chairs originally in the room began to remove some. They thought, oh, there's too many. People are going to feel a bit weird. I remember thinking to myself that this was a mistake, but I decided that I wasn't going to comment this week. Then folk began to arrive, and we soon discovered that more chairs were needed to set out. In fact, about the original number that had been set out in the first place. We got back to where we'd been at the beginning. Now, we all laughed at this in the end, at our attempts at being Goldilocks and making everything perfect, just getting the right blend. And it's good we can laugh at ourselves about this. It's a sign of being in good spiritual health, really. Our humors were balanced, our humour was balanced. Now, having said that, though, any kind of obsessive compulsive disorder in the truest sense is no laughing matter at all. However it might manifest in people's lives is a serious thing, really. So many folk are plagued by it, and all of us to some degree, I think, perhaps. I know I am, actually. It manifests itself in me in some ways. Mine is not an obvious way, though. I'm constantly concerned each time this group meets of there being the right numbers of chairs so that no one feels excluded from the circle. My obsessiveness about this meeting isn't about the shape and the arrangement of the chairs. It's that there are enough chairs so that no person attending feels excluded. But it's something I get really obsessed about, I have noticed. I've been thinking an awful lot about the structure of worship and of what I create and share as well as the purpose of it, actually, in recent weeks. I've also been thinking about ritual, its need to hold things together, really, as well as the dangers of becoming slaves to ritual. It kind of which loses its purpose, really. There is a place and there is a need for structure, as it allows freedom to explore things that perhaps people might find uncomfortable. If the setting is comfortable, you can explore things that are perhaps more challenging. And there is also a need to cater for different types of people. There is a balance needed between structure and a total laissez-faire approach, I suppose. I know myself, I need a good mixture of the two. Although I do also know that I will never get the balance exactly right. I think there's a song there, isn't it? Get the balance right, or something like that. Yes, there are benefits to enabling the spirit to be level, and ritual does help to get that spirit level, I think, that balance. Having said that, there is a real danger in becoming too enslaved to ritual. Sometimes it becomes all about the ritual and it kills the spirit dies. Surely the purpose of such activity is to feed the spirit and not just to simply be a slave to the pattern. What's the point of that? The spirit has died and just become a slave to the ritual. Now, all this brought to mind a story I like. I think I originally came across this story in one of Anthony de Mello's books, but I'm not certain. It's called The Guru's Cat. In India, there was a great religious guru who was always surrounded in his ashram by loyal devotees. For hours a day, the guru and his followers would meditate on God. The only problem was that the guru had a young cat, an annoying creature who used to walk through the temple meowing and purring and bothering everybody during meditation. So the guru, in all his practical wisdom, commanded that the cat be tied to a pole outside for a few hours a day, only during meditation, so as to not disturb anyone. This became a habit, tying the cat to the pole and then meditating to God. But as years passed, the habit hardened into a religious ritual. Nobody could meditate unless the cat was tied to the pole first. After the guru died, the cat continued to be tied during evening worship. Then one day, the cat died. The guru's followers were panic-stricken. It was a major religious crisis. There was no crisis when the guru died, but when the cat died, a crisis ensued. How could they meditate now without a cat to tie to a pole? How would they reach God? In their minds, the cat had been the means to reach God. Centuries later, learned treatises were written by the Guru's scholarly disciples on the liturgical significance of tying up a cat while worship is performed. Something got lost there, do you think, in the ritual, perhaps? I wonder. Sometimes we become so tied to things that we forget the purpose of why we are doing what we are doing. So yes, I've been thinking once again about the purpose of worship, particularly in the context of the free religious tradition, one that we should never be a slave to. This tradition that I belong to should not be a slave to anything, and yet we can be. I've also been thinking about the purpose of spirituality and the purpose of the spiritual life. I've been thinking about balance and, of course, an interesting item, the spirit level. So I've not got one as a prop. How do we define spirituality and the spiritual life? Because people talk about it a lot, but what on earth do they mean? And what's the purpose of it anyway? I've heard many explanations over the years, and the best one I have ever heard came from the Reverend Bill Darlison. He said that the purpose of the spiritual life is to increase our sensitivity to life. I believe that the purpose of spirituality is to aid us to become more affected by life and thus, as the result, become more effective in life. It's not to rise beyond life, spirituality. It's not to escape from life, but to enable us to engage fully in and with reality. I know that the more engaged I am in such practices, the more engaged I am in life itself. Spiritual practice enables me to do so. That said, I also need such practices to recharge my spiritual batteries, and thus then I can return to life and increase the effect and become more effective. It helps keep my spirit levels up. It's about getting the balance right, though, between these things. As I so often say, the spiritual life is not so much about transcendence, but about transformation, really. It's not about escaping life, but to be changed by it and thus to become a force for good within life itself. The realm of the spirit and the realm of the material are not separate things. They both feed and are fed by each other. The 20th century French Jesuit priest and philosopher Pierre Teilhard de Chardin, I'm sure that's not how it's pronounced, but I apologise. He claimed that we are not human beings having a spiritual experience, we are spiritual beings having a human experience. I'm sure you've probably heard it. It's a phrase I've heard many times over the years. And while I think I know what people mean by it, I don't really like it. It bothers me, actually. There's something troubling about it. And what I find troubling is that, in my view, it's suggesting that the spiritual life is somehow more than our physical life. It seems to suggest that the physical life is of little importance, really, merely that our bodies, physical life is just the home for the spirit, but a temporary one. That what comes before and perhaps after the physical life is somehow more important than this life right here, right now. That somehow our human experiences are less than sacred, actually. They're lesser. They're not the most important experiences. I'm not convinced of this. Dualism, if you like, has always troubled me. I personally don't see a separation between body and spirit, not really. This disembodied spirituality, if you like, troubles me. This dualism bothers me. And the reason is that if we see the body as somehow less than spirit, or on the other hand, see nothing sacred at all in our humanity, that this can lead to all kinds of troubles. Barbarism, really. Because it doesn't matter what we do. It's not important. I see the body as a deeply sacred thing, actually. For me, the body is a beautiful expression of the spirit come to life. That's sacred, the body, as I love to sing. Now, this view is about the body and the spirit has been described far more eloquently by George N. Ferrer than I could do, who's a professor of religious psychology. And he's called this feeling that I'm trying to express, he's named it embodied spirituality. This is what he wrote about it. Embodied spirituality regards the body as subject, as the home of the complete human being, as a source of spiritual insight, as a microcosm of the universe and the mystery, and as pivotal for enduring spiritual transformation. The body is not an it to be objectified and used for the goals of or even spiritual ecstasies of the conscious mind, but a thou, an intimate partner with whom the other human dimensions can collaborate in the pursuit of ever-increasing forms of liberating wisdom. For Ferrer, the body is the home of the complete human being. It is the physical reality in which we live. It is through the body that we both literally and metaphorically walk our own unique path. The mistake that so many religious understandings have made is that we have seen the body as the prison of the soul, something that the spirit or soul kind of needs to liberate itself from. Ferrer claims that the mystery of incarnation never suggested that the spirit entered into the body, but that the spirit became flesh. To quote John's Gospel, In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word became flesh. Through our bodies, our lives, the way we live our lives, the Spirit comes to life. We are here for a reason. Life truly means something, and it is our task to bring that something to life, I believe. And how do we do that? Through our lives, through our bodily existence. We're not spiritual beings merely having a physical experience. The physical experience is spiritual in nature. We feed the Spirit, and the Spirit feeds us through our physical experiences. Sacred the body indeed. Embodied spirituality is about fully inhabiting our lives, our thoughts, our feelings, our relationships with ourselves, our own lives, each other, and the mystery that connects all life. It's about being fully present in our bodies and lives, and therefore fully experiencing our potential, being fully alive. The body is not just some suit that clothes our being. It is through the body that we experience what it is to be fully alive. They say, listen to your body. Sage wisdom, indeed it is. For me, the body is not a separate entity to the spirit. I cannot agree with this dualistic view. It seems to me that it is through the body that the spirit comes alive, and further, through the body that the spirit is fed. The mind is part of the body too. That's another dualism, that we somehow see our mind as separate from the rest of our being. It's not. Embodied spirituality views every aspect of our humanity, whether that be body, spirit, heart, mind, consciousness, as equal partners in bringing the self, community, and the world into fuller alignment with the mystery that brings into being all life, while at the same time it connects all life. It's a kind of, I suppose, pan-entheism, not to be confused with pantheism, by the way. Pan-entheism, that sees all life as being in God, and that God is in all life, and that little bit more. Life itself is not God, but God is in life, and all life is in God. And it's somehow that little bit more, perhaps. But it's not separate. It's not something out there, beyond life. That we're here to escape from life, if you like. We're here to live our lives, and through living our lives we feed the Spirit, and the Spirit feeds our lives. I see the full engagement of the body as being vital to spiritual growth and transformation itself. Not to transcend it, but to be transformed within it. And this brings me back to that definition of spirituality: to increase our sensitivity to life, to which I like to add, and thus to be affected by, and thus become effective in life. The purpose of spiritual and religious ritual and practice, of course, is to enable this to happen, to fill our spirit levels, if you like. But it's always going to be a bit wonky. It's important, though, that we do not become slaves to such things, to ritual, as we will then completely kill the spirit as we become slaves to the ritual. It's all about the ritual. We forget why and what its purpose is. Carol P. Christ wrote, "Embodied theology is rooted in personal experience in our individual bodies. At the same time, we all live in a relational world shaped by social and historical events and forces that are shared." So we're not separate either. The spirit comes alive through our experiences, both personal and our shared experiences. By increasing our sensitivity to life, we will know experiences beyond our imaginings, and life will become our constant teacher. We will grow in deeper understanding, and most importantly, we will become more effective in our daily living and truly become of service to life and those we meet in life. So, let's increase our sensitivity to life. Let's engage fully with everything. Let's be affected by and become increasingly effective in life. Let's not become slaves to our rituals, but let's become inspired by them. Let us engage fully with life, mind, body, spirit, and soul. Amen. Now I'm going to end this little devotion with some final words of blessing. And we can all bless. We all need to bless more. And we bless life, if you like, by giving ourselves fully to life. Body, mind, spirit, and soul. So some final words of blessing. May the love that overcomes all differences, that heals all wounds, that puts to flight all fears, that reconciles all who are separated, may that love be in us and among us now and always. And may God go with us, and may God do so in all that we feel, in all that we think, in all that we say, in all that we do. Amen.